Shin. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, yet your life just won't move forward? You pray, visualize, work hard, and still, the money doesn't come, the opportunities don't show up, and that nagging feeling that something's wrong never leaves you? I know exactly what that feels like. And what if I told you? The problem isn't you. It's that no one ever taught you the true law that runs the universe. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered something most people spend a lifetime trying to understand. Manifestation isn't about asking, it's about aligning. And when you align with divine law, everything changes. Literally overnight. Here's the truth no one wants to tell you. You're not blocked because you're not good enough. You're blocked because you're resisting. Every fearful thought, every doubt, every desperate attempt to control the future, all of that disconnects you from the infinite source of abundance that's always been available to you. Florence spent her days repeating a radical truth. The universe operates by spiritual laws, not by luck. And these laws are as precise as gravity. When you drop a glass, it falls. When you vibrate scarcity, you attract scarcity. It's not punishment, it's spiritual physics. And once you understand this law, once you stop fighting against it and start cooperating with it, miracles become your routine. But here's a secret few people know. The divine law is already working in your life right now. It never stopped. The problem is that you're sending mixed signals. You ask for prosperity while repeating in your mind, I never have enough money. You declare faith while your heart is filled with fear. And the universe, which doesn't judge, simply responds to your predominant vibration, not to what you say, but to what you are. Florence said something that changed my life. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. And when you really hear that for the first time, something inside you awakens, because you realize you've spent years trying to change the world outside, when the only thing you ever needed to change was the consciousness within. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'll teach you what Florence taught, not theory, but real, practical, life-changing application. You'll learn to recognize when you're out of alignment, how to return to the flow, and most importantly, how to keep your faith even when everything seems to be falling apart. Because it's in that dark moment before victory that most people give up, and that's exactly when the miracle was about to happen. I'll share real stories of women who applied these principles and watched their lives transform completely. I'll give you practical examples, powerful affirmations, and the step-by-step process to become an open channel for divine abundance. If you've come this far, it's not by accident. Your soul is ready for this transformation. You're tired of fighting. You're ready to flow. And I promise you, if you watch until the end, if you truly absorb what's being shared here, you will never look at your life the same way again, because you'll understand that prosperity isn't something you have to chase. It's something you have to allow. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and come with me. What you're about to learn can change everything, literally overnight. Claire was 52 and exhausted. Not the kind of tired that comes after a hard day, but the kind that lives in your bones. The kind that comes from years of trying to control every detail of life. She planned every penny, every conversation, every move. She'd wake up at 4 in the morning, mentally reviewing everything she needed to do, everything that could go wrong, everything that depended on her. Claire believed that if she loosened her grip for even a second, everything would fall apart. And ironically, that's exactly what was happening. The harder she tried to hold on, the more everything slipped through her fingers. The money disappeared. Opportunities never came. Relationships grew cold. She was stuck in a cycle of effort without results, and she couldn't understand why. One day, sitting in her kitchen with a cup of cold coffee in her hands, Claire broke down. Not in a dramatic way. It was quiet, internal. She simply realized she couldn't do it anymore. She couldn't keep trying, couldn't keep planning, couldn't keep pretending she had control over something that clearly wasn't hers to control. And in that moment of total surrender, something shifted. She looked up, not at the ceiling, but at something greater, and whispered, "All right, I give up. You handle it." It wasn't a beautiful prayer. It wasn't even spiritual. It was just honest. And it was exactly what it needed to be. Because for the first time in years, Claire stopped fighting with the universe and started trusting it. In the days that followed, Claire did something radical. She stopped obsessively planning. She stopped checking her bills 10 times a day. She stopped trying to control the behavior of everyone around her. And she began repeating, every morning and every night, an affirmation she'd read in an old book by Florence Scovel Shinn. God is my immediate and inexhaustible source of prosperity. At first, she didn't really believe it. The words felt empty, almost ridiculous in the face of overdue bills and a negative bank balance. But she kept going. because something inside her knew she needed to change the inner conversation. She needed to stop saying, "I never have," and start saying, "I always receive," even without proof, even without guarantees. She chose faith over fear. And then, things started to happen. Not magically, naturally. As if the universe had simply been waiting for her to step aside. A friend called offering a freelance job Claire didn't even know existed. A forgotten check showed up in the mail. A client who owed her money for months suddenly paid, out of nowhere. Within 3 weeks, Claire's financial situation had completely shifted. But the most remarkable part wasn't the money. It was the peace. She slept better, woke up without that knot in her chest, smiled more, because she had understood something fundamental. Prosperity doesn't come from effort, it comes from alignment, and alignment comes from surrender. Today, Claire tells this story with tears in her eyes, not of sadness, but of gratitude, because she realized she had spent half her life fighting against the only force that could ever have helped her: divine intelligence. She thought she had to do everything herself, carry it all, solve it all with her own strength. And when she finally put that burden down, when she finally trusted, life rearranged itself. Florence had been right all along. The universe doesn't need our help. It only needs our permission. And that permission comes through one very specific, very powerful thing that most people completely underestimate. Let me show you what it is. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to live in a constant flow of luck, while others struggle endlessly with no results? The truth is, there's no such thing as luck. What exists is alignment, or the lack of it. Florence Scovel Shinn spent her days repeating a truth that many still resist. The universe doesn't work by chance. It works by spiritual laws as precise as the law of gravity. When you drop a glass, it falls. When you vibrate fear, scarcity, and disbelief, your life reflects exactly that. It's not punishment, it's spiritual physics. And the good news is that just as you can learn not to drop the glass, you can learn to operate within this divine law. The first thing you need to understand is that manifestation isn't about forcing the universe to obey you. It's about stopping your resistance to the natural flow of abundance that already exists. Florence said that man prospers when he lives in harmony with divine law, and this law rests on 3 pillars: faith, love, and obedience to intuition. Faith isn't believing things will work out someday. It's knowing, deep in your soul, that it's already done. Love is the energy that dissolves all resistance, judgment, and attachment to control. And intuition? That's the quiet voice that guides you when your mind screams the opposite. When you honor these 3 pillars, you're no longer trying to attract anything. You become the very channel of creation itself. Now here's where most people go wrong. They think they can manipulate the law. They try to affirm beautiful things while their hearts are filled with doubt. They speak of prosperity but think about bills. They say they trust God but spend the whole day making plan B, plan C, plan Z. And then life gets stuck. Because the universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. Your vibration is your energetic signature, and that's what creates your reality. If you want to change what you're seeing out there, you must first change what you're feeling in here. There's no shortcut, no trick, only alignment. Think of your mind as a radio. If you want to hear jazz, you need to tune into the jazz station. If you keep spinning the dial between fear, anxiety, desperation, and impatience, you'll pick up exactly that: chaos, confusion, and lack. But when you choose, and this is a conscious choice, to tune into the frequency of faith, gratitude, and divine certainty, everything shifts. Doors open, the right people show up, money flows, and the most interesting part, you don't even need to know how it will happen. You just need to know that it will happen. Divine intelligence handles the details. Your job is to maintain the frequency. Your only responsibility is not to fall out of alignment. And here's the secret few understand. The divine law is already working. It never stopped. The problem isn't that the universe isn't listening, it's that you're sending mixed signal. It's like asking for a new car while mentally repeating, "I never have money for anything." The universe doesn't judge. It simply delivers what you vibrate most consistently. So before trying to manifest anything, you need to pause and ask yourself, what is my predominant vibration? Fear or faith? Scarcity or abundance? Control or surrender? The answers to these questions will show you exactly why your life looks the way it does. And once you see it, really see it, change begins. But something happens when you fall out of alignment, and that's what we need to talk about next. You know that feeling when you're doing everything right, yet nothing works? You wake up early, work hard, pray, visualize, affirm, and still, life feels stuck. The bills keep piling up, relationships don't improve, opportunities don't show up, and then you start doubting everything. Does this law of attraction stuff even work? Has God forgotten about me? The truth is simpler and more liberating than you think. All lack is just a sign of resistance. It's not divine punishment. It's not bad luck. It's simply the reflection of a mind that's out of tune. And recognizing that, without guilt, without drama, is the first step to getting back into flow. When Florence Scovel Shinn talked about misalignment, she used a powerful image: a man rowing against the current. He strains, sweats, fights, but the river is stronger, not because the river is cruel, but because it has a natural direction. Life works the same way. There is a divine current of abundance, health, love, and prosperity that's always available. But when you switch into fear mode, what if it doesn't work? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not worthy? You start rowing against that flow. And the more you fight, the more exhausted you become. The more you try to control, the more things slip away. Because the energy of fear is the energy of separation. And in separation, you disconnect from the source. Here's what most people don't understand. Misalignment doesn't happen all at once. It's subtle. It begins with a single thought of doubt here, a complaint there, a judgment over there. You wake up in a bad mood and think, here comes another hard day. You look at your credit card bill and feel your stomach tighten. You see someone succeeding and feel a twinge of envy. Each of those moments is like a tiny disconnection from the divine frequency. On their own, they seem harmless. But added up over days, weeks, months, they create a vibrational pattern so dense that abundance simply can't get in. Not because you don't deserve it, but because you've closed the door without realizing it. And you know what's interesting? Life always tells you when you're out of alignment. Always. The signs are there. The anxiety that won't go away, the sleepless nights, the constant feeling that something's off. Your body tenses up. Your mind won't stop. You live in the future, planning obsessively, or in the past, regretting what went wrong, but never in the present. And the present is the only place where manifestation happens. Florence used to say that haste is the sister of fear. When you're rushing, desperate, trying to make things happen at any cost, you're saying to the universe, I don't trust you. I have to fix this myself. And that's when, my dear, you truly end up alone, because you've cut the line to divine intelligence. But here's the liberating part. Misalignment isn't permanent. You're not broken. You're not lost forever. You just need to recognize what's happening and choose differently. It's like realizing you took the wrong road. You don't need to punish yourself for it. You just need to make a U-turn. And that U-turn starts with a pause, with a breath, with the conscious decision to stop fighting and start trusting. Because once you understand that scarcity isn't real, that it's only the shadow of your own resistance, everything changes. And there's someone who understood this in the deepest way possible. Let me tell you her story. Did you know that every word that comes out of your mouth is a command to the universe? It's not poetry, not metaphor. It's literally how it works. Florence Scovel Shinn called words a magic wand, and she wasn't exaggerating. Every time you speak, you're shaping invisible energy into mental forms that will manifest in your reality. When you say, I never have any luck, you're not just venting, you're issuing a spiritual decree. You're programming your consciousness to seek and confirm that belief. And the universe, which doesn't judge or question, simply replies, yes, ma'am, as you command. That's why so many people keep repeating the same patterns. They don't realize they're casting spells on their own lives with the words they choose. Now pay attention. This doesn't mean you have to talk like a robot, repeating mechanical affirmations all day. The power isn't in the word itself, it's in the vibration behind it. You can say, I am prosperous 100 times, but if deep down you feel fear, insecurity, or doubt, your words are just noise. What truly creates is the union between word and feeling. It's when you say and feel at the same time. It's when you declare, infinite good is mine now, and something inside you relaxes, as if you just remembered an ancient truth. That's the moment the word becomes creative. That's the moment you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a co-creator of your reality. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose you're facing financial difficulties. The temptation is to keep repeating to everyone and to yourself, things are so hard. I don't know how I'll pay these bills. The money's never enough. Every time you say that, you reinforce the mental form of scarcity. You feed the pattern. You invite more lack into your life. Now, imagine that instead, you choose to speak differently. I trust that everything is working out. The universe is taking care of me. My needs are always met. At first, it might feel fake. Your rational mind will scream, but it's not true. But you keep going, because you understand that the truth that matters isn't your bank balance. It's divine law. And in divine law, abundance is your natural state. Florence had a quote I love. What you condemn, you attract. What you criticize, you reproduce. What you bless, you multiply. Think about that power. Every time you complain about traffic, your boss, the government, the weather, the economy, you're feeding energy into the vibration of dissatisfaction. And life, being the faithful mirror it is, gives you more things to complain about. But when you change the conversation, when you start giving thanks, blessing, recognizing good even in the middle of chaos, you change the frequency. And at that new frequency, new things appear. Opportunities you hadn't noticed before. People you'd never met. Solutions that once seemed impossible. All because you stopped using your mouth as a tool of destruction and started using it as a tool of creation. So here's the challenge. For 1 week, observe every word you speak. Not to police yourself neurotically, but to become aware. How many times a day do you say, I can't, I don't have, nothing ever works for me? How many times do you complain, criticize, or belittle yourself? Then gently start to change. Not overnight, step by step. Replace, I never have money with money flows easily to me. Replace, nothing ever works out for me with, I am aligned with my highest good. And watch how the energy shifts, how people respond differently, how opportunities start to appear. Because you're no longer asking the universe, you're commanding it. And commanding is what masters do. But there's a fundamental piece of this puzzle, one without which none of this works. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Let's get straight to the point. Without faith, there is no manifestation, period. You can affirm, visualize, decree, perform rituals, light candles, but if deep down you don't truly believe, nothing happens. And when I say faith, I don't mean that Sunday kind of faith, the one you feel when everything's fine and life is flowing. I mean the faith that stays strong when everything seems to be falling apart. The faith that looks at chaos and says, even so, I trust. That is the faith that moves mountains. That's the faith that unlocks the divine vault and releases the abundance that's been waiting all along, just for you to believe it's yours. Florence Scovel Shinn used to say that faith is not hope, it is certainty. It's knowing, at the deepest level of your being, that it's already done. Most people confuse faith with optimism. Oh, I have faith that things will work out. But deep down, they're scared. They doubt. They keep a plan B hidden in the drawer, just in case. And I get it. We were taught to be realistic, to not trust too much, to always have a parachute ready. But here's the raw truth. Faith and fear cannot coexist. You either trust or you control. You either surrender or you cling. You can't do both at the same time. It's like driving with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You may move, but it's a disaster. True faith is when you take your foot off the brake completely and say, God, I trust you more than I trust what my eyes can see. And that, my dear, is when the miracle happens. Here's a secret most people don't know. Faith isn't something you either have or don't have. Faith is a muscle. You exercise it. You develop it. You choose again and again to believe, even when your logical mind is screaming the opposite. Start small. When you wake up, instead of checking your phone, close your eyes and say, today will be a day of blessings. I am aligned with my highest good. And choose to feel it, even without proof. When you go to the store, instead of obsessively calculating every cent, relax and affirm, I always have more than enough. And when things work out, when you see that it actually did, your faith grows a little stronger. And next time, it gets easier. Until one day you realize you're not trying to believe anymore. You simply know. Florence told the story of a woman who desperately needed money. She had every logical reason to panic. Overdue bills, no prospects, no help in sight. But instead of despair, she chose faith. She sat down, took a deep breath, and said aloud, I release this situation to divine wisdom. I know the solution already exists and is coming to me now. Then she let it go. She didn't dwell on it. She didn't check her bank account every hour. She trusted and went on with her day. 3 days later, an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative arrived. The exact amount she needed. Coincidence? No. Spiritual law. Because when you truly trust, when you vibrate in the frequency of certainty, the universe rearranges physical reality to match your faith. Not because you earned it, but because you allowed it. And here's the final test of faith, the silence. That period between your decree and its manifestation, that space where it seems like nothing's happening. The bill is still due. The phone doesn't ring. The opportunity doesn't come. That's where most people give up. That's where doubt creeps in and eats everything away. But Florence warned, the moment before victory is always the darkest. It is the final test. If you can hold your faith in that silence, if you can smile, give thanks, and keep trusting even when there's no visible sign, then you've passed the test. And the universe has no choice but to deliver what you've decreed. Because faith is the key that turns the lock of the vault. But there's something that jams that key, something most people do without realizing, and that's what we need to talk about next. Here's a truth that goes against everything you've been taught. Too much effort is a sign you're off track. I know. We grew up hearing that success is 99% perspiration, that if you're not suffering, you're not doing it right, that you've got to grind until it hurts to achieve anything. But Florence Scovel Shinn flipped that idea upside down. She said that excessive effort is the trademark of fear. When you're struggling, forcing, pushing with all your might, you're not trusting. You're saying to the universe, I don't believe you'll do your part, so I'll do everything myself. And that traps you in an exhausting loop of work without results. Because divine mind doesn't operate through struggle, it operates through peace. Think of a tree. It doesn't force its leaves to grow. It doesn't push its fruits to ripen faster. It simply stays aligned with the intelligence of nature, and everything flows in perfect timing. That's what Florence wanted you to understand. You don't need to make life happen. You just need to allow life to happen through you. When you're aligned with divine law, things flow. Business resolves smoothly. The right people show up without chasing. Money arrives through paths you couldn't have imagined. And the most interesting part? Time seems to expand. You do less and achieve more, because you've stopped rowing against the current and started sailing with it. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean sitting on the couch waiting for money to fall from the sky. Action is still necessary. But there's a massive difference between inspired action and desperate action. Inspired action comes from peace. You feel a clear inner nudge, an intuition to call that person, send that email, explore that idea. And you do it lightly, without attachment to the outcome, knowing you're being guided. Desperate action, on the other hand, comes from fear. It's that frantic energy of, I have to do something now or everything will collapse. You send 50 resumes, call everyone you know, post 10 times a day, and nothing happens. Because the energy behind your action is contaminated. You're not co-creating with the universe, you're trying to control creation all by yourself. Florence used a powerful image. She said that when you're aligned, you become like an open door. Abundance flows through you without resistance. But when you're forcing, it's like pushing on a door that opens inward. The harder you push, the tighter it locks. And you stand there sweating, exhausted, frustrated, thinking the problem is the door. But the problem is direction. You just need to stop, breathe, and pull instead of push. Or better yet, let go of the handle and allow the door to open on its own. Because there is a greater intelligence handling everything. You don't need to know every step. You don't need all the answers. You just need to trust. Take the next inspired step your intuition shows you, and let the universe handle the rest. And the beautiful part? When you finally let go, when you stop forcing and start flowing, life changes flavor entirely. You wake up lighter, you work with joy, you sleep in peace, because you're no longer carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. You've understood that your only job is to maintain the vibration, the faith, the alignment. The rest? That's divine wisdom's job. And she's infinitely more intelligent, creative, and powerful than any plan you could design. So relax, trust, and let life surprise you. But how do you know when you're truly aligned? How do you recognize that state within yourself? That's what we're going to talk about next. Have you ever had that strange feeling that everything's okay, even when nothing around you seems okay? It's as if, deep down, you just know that all is well, even if the bill isn't paid yet, the opportunity hasn't shown up, the circumstances still look the same. That, my dear, is the signature of alignment. It's the sign that you've crossed the invisible bridge between the world of form and the world of spirit. Florence used to say that when you're truly aligned, you feel an unexplainable peace. Not the peace of someone who solved all their problems, but the peace of someone who knows their problems are already solved in the divine realm. And that inner certainty is the most reliable compass you'll ever have. The first sign is the absence of anxiety. When you're out of alignment, anxiety becomes your constant companion. You wake up with a tight chest, spend the day checking emails, your phone, your bank account. Your mind runs endless catastrophic scenarios. What if I lose my job? What if no one hires me? What if I can't pay the bills? It's a mental storm that consumes you. But when you align, when you truly surrender and trust, that storm just stops. It's not that your problems disappear. It's that you stop being at war with them. You know deep in your soul that the solution already exists. You don't know how or when, but you know. And that knowing gives you a peace no external circumstance can shake. The second sign is that you stop trying to control everything. That constant need to plan every detail, to have every answer. to always be 10 steps ahead. It dissolves. You're not being irresponsible. You're trusting divine timing. You do what needs to be done today and leave tomorrow in God's hands. You release people, outcomes, and the need for things to happen your way, on your schedule. And here's the beauty. When you let go, things begin to flow. Answers arrive. Doors open. Paths reveal themselves. Because you've stopped blocking the current with your stubborn need to control. You've finally understood there's a better way, a better timing, and you're willing to wait for it. The third sign, and perhaps the most magical, is that you start living in the present. Not in the past, regretting what went wrong. Not in the future, worrying about what might go wrong. But here, now, in this very moment, you savor your morning coffee. You truly listen to people when they speak. You notice beauty, the blue sky, the birdsong, a stranger's smile. Because when you're aligned, you understand this moment is all you have, and this moment is perfect, even when it doesn't seem so. That presence, that ability to be fully here, is what opens the portal to manifestation. Because the universe can only deliver in the now. It doesn't deliver in someday or when I deserve it. It delivers when you're present enough to receive. And there's one more sign, perhaps the most powerful of all. You feel a strange anticipatory gratitude. It's as if you're already thankful for what hasn't yet arrived. You look up to the sky and say, "Thank you for the prosperity that's coming. Thank you for the perfect opportunity. Thank you for the miracle already on its way." And you feel it, not as a technique, but as recognition. Because in the spiritual realm, it already exists. It's already done. You're just waiting for the physical world to catch up to the reality you've created in consciousness. And while you wait, you live as if you've already received it. You smile more. You sleep better, you walk lighter, and people around you notice, even if they can't explain what's changed. But there's one thing you must know. This state of alignment will be tested, and what you do during the test defines everything. Here's what nobody tells you about manifestation. The greatest test doesn't come at the beginning. It comes when you're already aligned, already trusting, already declaring what you want. And then suddenly, things seem to fall apart. The payment you were expecting doesn't arrive. The person who promised to help disappears. The opportunity that looked certain crumbles. And in that moment, that exact moment of apparent failure, most people give up. They look at the sky and say, "See? I knew it wouldn't work. I knew it was too good to be true." And then they go back. Back to fear, back to doubt, back to the vibration of scarcity. And when they do that, they break the flow. They cancel the spiritual order that was already on its way. Florence used to warn, "The moment before victory is always the darkest." And she wasn't joking. Think of it this way. You plant a seed in your garden. You water it, nurture it, have faith. But after a few days, nothing has sprouted. The soil still looks dry, brown, lifeless. You panic. This seed is useless. This soil is useless. I'm useless at this. And you give up. You pull the seed out or stop watering it. What you don't know is that beneath the surface, invisible to your eyes, the seed was already germinating. Roots were already growing. Just a few more days, and the sprout would have appeared. But you quit too soon. You judged by appearance, not by faith. That's exactly what happens with manifestation. Just because you can't see results yet doesn't mean nothing is happening. The universe might be rearranging everything behind the scenes. You might be one step, literally one step, away from the miracle. But here's the problem. The ego hates to wait. The ego wants proof. It wants guarantees. It wants to see before it believes. And when it doesn't see, it panics. I have to do something. I have to change my plan. I have to go back to the old way. At least that one I understand. And so you go back. You return to the vibration of struggle, of control, of fear. You take back the burden you had handed to God, and with that, you interrupt the process. It's like ordering a package, and just when the delivery truck turns onto your street, you cancel the order. Not because the package wasn't coming, but because you lost faith that it would arrive. You couldn't bear the waiting. You didn't trust the invisible. Florence once told the story of a woman who had decreed healing from a severe illness. She affirmed, visualized, trusted. And for the first few days, nothing changed. Worse, the symptoms got stronger. The pain intensified. The weakness grew. Everyone around her said, "Stop this nonsense. Go to the doctor. Face reality." She had to make the hardest choice of her life, keep trusting, or go back to fear. She chose trust. She kept declaring perfect health, even while her body ached. She kept giving thanks for her healing, even when she couldn't see it. And on the 10th day, something shifted. The pain vanished. Her strength returned, The tests showed complete remission. Doctors called it a miracle. She called it divine law. Because she hadn't given up. She didn't go back to the old pattern. She held the faith until the end. So if you're going through that right now, if you've decreed something and it looks like everything's falling apart, take a deep breath. You're not being punished. You didn't do anything wrong. You're simply being tested. The universe is asking, do you really trust, or do you only trust when it's easy? Your answer to that question changes everything. If you persist, if you hold the faith, hold the vibration, hold the certainty even without proof, the miracle will come. It always does. Maybe not in your timing, maybe not in the way you expected, but it comes. Because divine law never fails. Only our faith does. So don't give up. Don't go back. Keep trusting. Because what's coming is greater than anything you've ever imagined. And then suddenly it happens. You wake up on an ordinary day, doing ordinary things, and everything changes. The phone rings with an offer you didn't even know existed. The check arrives. The relationship heals. The solution appears out of nowhere. And you stand there almost in shock, thinking, how did this happen? Where did this come from? But the truth, my dear, is that it didn't come from anywhere. It had always been there, waiting for you to align with the right frequency to receive it. Florence used to say that a miracle isn't something new. It's simply the reflection of your new consciousness. You changed on the inside, and the outer world had no choice but to change too. Because life is a mirror. It always has been. You just weren't looking from the right angle. What happens at the moment of the miracle is that the physical reality finally catches up with the spiritual one. Remember when I told you that in the divine plane, everything is already done? Well, when you declared, when you trusted, when you held your faith, you created a mental form in the invisible realm. That form began to densify, to take substance, to move toward the material world. It doesn't matter how long it took. It doesn't matter how many obstacles appeared along the way. The universe was working behind the scenes, rearranging people, events, circumstances, all to deliver what you asked for. And when it finally arrives, it feels like magic. But it's not magic. It's law, as precise as gravity. You planted, you watered, you waited, and now you're harvesting. And here's the beautiful thing. When the miracle arrives, you realize it's not exactly what you imagined. Sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's different, but perfectly aligned with what you truly needed, not what you thought you needed. You asked for a specific job, but what came was an unexpected opportunity that fits your purpose perfectly. You asked to fix a debt, but what came was a complete transformation in your relationship with money, and the debts resolved themselves naturally. Because divine wisdom sees the whole picture. It knows what's best for you, even when you don't. And when you trust enough to let it work, it always delivers something beyond your expectations. But here's the key. The miracle didn't happen because you earned it. Not because you were good enough or prayed enough or suffered enough. It happened because you allowed it, because you got out of the way, because you stopped blocking the natural flow of abundance with doubt, fear, and control. Prosperity, health, love, all of it has always been available to you from the very beginning. You just couldn't receive it because your consciousness was locked, trapped in old patterns of lack and unworthiness. And when you finally expanded that consciousness, when you finally accepted that you are worthy, that infinite good belongs to you, that the universe conspires in your favor, everything changed, not out there, inside you, and the world simply obeyed. So when your miracle arrives, and it will arrive if you keep the faith, don't just feel relieved, feel aware. See what really happened. You didn't convince God of anything. You didn't negotiate with the universe. You simply remembered who you are, a divine channel of infinite abundance. And when you live from that remembrance, when you truly embody that truth, you no longer need to manifest anything, because you become the manifestation itself. You become abundance walking. And then, my dear, your entire life transforms, not because you changed the circumstances, but because you changed you. And that inner change is the real miracle. It's the supreme state of consciousness. And that's what we'll talk about now, in this final teaching. There's a stage beyond manifestation, a place where you stop trying to attract things and become the very channel through which abundance flows. FLORENCE SCOVEL SHINN called it becoming one with divine law. It's the highest state of consciousness a human being can reach. It's not about asking and receiving more. It's about realizing you were never separate from the source. You are the source. Prosperity doesn't come to you. It comes through you. And when you understand that, when you truly live from that truth, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop worrying. You simply are. And in your presence, things happen. Doors open. People are blessed. Miracles become your routine. because you're no longer a human trying to be spiritual. You're spirit having a human experience. This is the stage where human will surrenders completely to divine will. And pay attention, surrender doesn't mean giving up. Surrender means trusting so deeply that you no longer need an opinion about how things should be. You stop fighting the universe's timing. You stop questioning the paths life chooses for you. You simply say, "Thy will be done, not mine." And you rest in that surrender, because you truly know, that the intelligence that created galaxies, that makes the heart beat, that turns a seed into a tree, knows exactly what it's doing with your life. You don't need to manage God. You just need to cooperate with Him. And in that cooperation, in that sacred dance between human and divine, life becomes a masterpiece. When you reach this state, you realize it was never about having more money, more success, more recognition. It was about remembering who you are, about awakening to the truth that you are loved, worthy, and enough, not because of what you do, but because of what you are. You are a unique expression of divine consciousness, and that consciousness wants to express itself through you, in all its glory. It wants to create through your hands. It wants to love through your heart. It wants to prosper through your life, but it can only do that when you get out of the way. When you stop trying to prove your worth and simply accept that you are already valuable. When you stop chasing abundance and realize you already are abundant. And you know what happens when you live from that place? Life flows without resistance. You wake up in the morning and no longer feel that weight on your chest. You work, not with effort, but with joy. You give, not out of sacrifice, but with overflowing generosity. You love, not out of fear of loss, but with the certainty that love is infinite. People around you feel your energy and are transformed by it. You don't have to preach, convince, or teach. Your very presence is the teaching. Your peace is the proof. Your prosperity is the testimony. And without saying a word, you show everyone that there is another way to live, that it's possible to trust, to flow, to be happy, even in a chaotic world. That's the invitation Florence left for us. Not an invitation to be perfect. Not an invitation to never doubt, never fear, never stumble. But an invitation to remember, every time you forget. To return, every time you get lost. To trust, every time fear knocks at your door. Because divine law is always working, always available, always waiting for you to align. You don't have to deserve it. You don't have to earn it. You only have to receive it. Open your arms, open your heart, and say yes. Yes to abundance. Yes to prosperity. Yes to life in its fullness. And when you say that yes, when you truly surrender and completely trust, the universe has no choice but to answer with the same yes. And then, my dear, you become unstoppable. Not because you're forcing, but because you're flowing. And in the flow, everything is possible. So here we are. You've just received a teaching that most people will never discover. You've learned that divine law isn't theory, it's practice. It's working right now, in this very moment, in your life. And the only question that matters is, will you keep resisting, or will you finally allow? Because the truth is this, abundance is already yours. Prosperity already belongs to you. Infinite good is already available. You only need to align your consciousness with that truth. You only need to stop fighting the universe and start trusting it. And when you do, when you truly surrender, when you truly trust, everything changes, overnight. Now I want you to do something for me. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, where am I still resisting? Where am I still trying to control? Where am I still vibrating fear instead of faith? Because if you can see that, if you can identify the patterns that have been holding you back, you've already taken the first step toward freedom. You've already begun the process of realignment. And once you begin, once you truly commit to this new way of living, there's no turning back. Because you'll experience miracles so real, so tangible, that you'll never again want to live the old way. I want to remind you of something Florence repeated endlessly. You don't need to deserve abundance. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to prove anything, not to anyone, not even to God. Abundance is your birthright. It's already yours. You just have to accept it. Just open your arms, open your heart, and receive. And when you do that, when you finally allow yourself to be loved, to be prosperous, to be happy, you don't just transform your own life. You become a beacon for everyone around you. Your peace inspires. Your prosperity testifies. Your faith teaches. And without saying a word, you show that another way of living is possible. So what's the next step? Simple. You practice every single day.